We're live right now.
Nice.
Well, we're just gonna
Party City.
Yeah. Let me.
Well, I'm about to try to take my thing live too. We'll see. We'll find out. Are you gonna sit over there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We're gonna.
I don't know if it's gonna get.
Don't worry, man. That's cool.
It's just gonna be me.
This is just. That's cool. We're just gonna.
Oh wow! Look at that.
Do all the setup right now. Share
Fancy.
The links.
One person is watching. It's you.
That's us. Yeah. That's how it goes.
Okay. Well, all right.
You can shoot the shit while I get all this set up. You can tell people what's going on, and then we'll go into the audio.
Okay. Cool. Yeah.
On your face,
so if you tag me, it'll pop up. I think.
I'm gonna do this and then do my.
So usually, if you put the at the rate of at the start, it'll prompt you to tag. Yeah. At least there we go.
Oh.
So.
Learn something new every day. I've always had a problem with that.
Yeah. They changed it. And it used to be much more easy, and now it's not.
I'll share that on there, and then
Let me see.
Share this on my page too. Quick. And then
I'm about to be so live, bro. Drinking beer. Well, we have an hour to do this, right?
Yep. Tell you twice.
How far are we from the venue? 10 minutes?
About 15 maybe.
I wonder what time Kyle's gonna get there.
I'm not sure. We don't have to go an hour. I mean, we'll just do what's fine.
Yeah, no, we'll make it funny. We'll have fun.
Before the show.
Podcast City.
News.
I don't like that. I don't like when people do that.
What?
When people say the word city after
Oh,
whatever
yeah.
they're doing, like that makes it a thing. Podcast. Why did I say? I feel ridiculous now that I've done that. Okay. How do you feel, Mark?
Right on. I feel good. We've got that echo. Hang on.
Oh no.
You hear that echo in your
headphones?
Hang on. I'll fix that real quick. There we go. Should be gone.
Nice. Okay.
All right.
I'm excited. I'm about to take my thing live as well.
Tell me when you're ready, and then I'll, we'll go into it. Just do your thing. This is how it is every time. I like people to see a little behind the scenes before we get started.
I don't like anybody to see my behind the scenes. I don't even think they're gonna see you.
That's all right, dude. I've got my stream.
Look, this is Mark. Oh wait, I guess I could do this. So if I do it this way, I can switch back and forth between you and me.
Right on, man.
Man, my beard's looking strong. I feel good. Hey, Josh. We got one person watching.
Awesome.
No, I could switch back and forth between you and I. Look, you're live in front of 3 people. Toby Morton, Stephanie Pena, and Josh Marshall.
What's up, guys? I've talked into the microphone like they could hear me.
Yeah, I don't know if they can hear you or not.
That's all right. Doesn't matter. I gave them a wink and a point.
Anyway, we're doing Mark's podcast. It's called The Flagship. And we're going to be doing the Kyle Kinane show here in like an hour and a half. If you've got questions, jokes, insults, whatever else, feel free to throw all of those at me and Mark in the next 30 minutes to an hour. And Bobby just told me, I can't hear you. Bobby, can you hear me now?
Oh, Bob.
Oh, she said I can hear you. We can hear both of you, apparently.
Okay.
I'm just not good at English, you guys.
No.
DACA's coming for you. Not you, me. Okay, well, I'm set whenever you guys are, or whenever you are.
All right, so I'm going to hit record, and then we'll do a little intro on here. And then, I mean, the live stream's already going, but people can tune in if you want to let them know that, they can go to that live stream. If they want to go to YouTube, that way we have an actual...
There's a clean YouTube live stream that you could watch that I'm tagged in, and it's on my wall. Or you could just watch right here. And... I don't know what this podcast is about or what we're gonna do with it.
About Arkansas,
it's
Little
about
Rock,
Arkansas
just
and Little Rock.
Shit, man. We're gonna. I'll get to it. How about I start the podcast?
Okay, I'm just gonna drink beer then. In the
Sounds good.
For those of you watching, if you haven't ordered my album, you should. It's only $8 right now. It's gonna be $10 next week, and money ain't a thing for some of you, which is why I'm guessing you haven't bought it yet. But if you buy it now, you'll get 2 tracks, and you'll get $2 saved.
Awesome. So I'm gonna do I'm gonna start this. We'll do an intro, and then we can get into that.
Okay.
We'll move along, man.
Thanks, Bobby.
Yep. All right.
Sorry, Bobby's saying things.
And here we go again. We're on another episode of the Flagship Podcast. I'm super excited for this one today. Got a buddy in here who I did a show with last year up in Bentonville, Springdale area, and it was a really good time. This guy's been working really hard. He's been doing a lot when it comes to comedy in Arkansas. That's one of the reasons why I had him on here. As you know, the Flagship Podcast, what I wanted to do was shine a light on things happening in Little Rock and Arkansas, and bring some people on here who are doing shit that really matters around here, some cool stuff. So without further ado, my buddy Raj Suresh is on here today. How you doing, man?
Doing good. Thanks for the beer.
Yeah, no problem, man.
What kind was it that you were trying to get rid of?
It was IPAs. I can't do them, dude.
I thought you gave me an IPA because I'm Indian.
No.
It's an Indian Pale Ale.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I don't even think...
No, that's a British invention. Do you know that?
The India Pale Ales?
Indian Pale Ales are a British invention.
Well, they've got the...
You need to drink a lot of alcohol when you're like committing genocide in the name of colonialism.
Well, I mean, I would imagine you drink a lot of alcohol when you're in India in, what, like 1700 or something like that? Earlier than that?
I feel like Indian people have been drinking forever. I don't know.
But what I'm saying is if you're English and you're over there for the first time, there's not a lot going on, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
what was the main activity of the day? Pillaging for like 6 hours.
You're born, you wake up, and you learn how to pillage.
So I've tried to record podcasts before, and always like my persona on stage is like fairly light. You know, like I try dark jokes, but it's not like terrifying. And then every time I do a podcast, it starts out normal for like 30 seconds, and then within 5 minutes we're talking about death.
That's all right, man.
Just death and fire. I did a podcast with Sam Talent, if you know who.
Yeah. I was at the last show that he did at Vino's.
Yeah, and he did the Grove up in my neck of the woods. And
yeah.
So Sam has done Roast Battle and a whole bunch of other things. He's done some Comedy Central stuff.
Yeah.
And within 5 minutes, we were like talking about circumcision. Just nobody. It started out normal, and comics that do the Grove do my podcast.
I don't know why you're saying that. That's weird.
It's strange.
It's a daily topic for me.
Well, they came over for the egg sandwiches, and then I talked them into doing a podcast, and immediately things went very fast.
What do you mean they came over for the egg sandwiches? That's just your invite whenever you...
That's what you get for doing my podcast.
Are you serious?
Sam he also got a hefty check for being for being in Arkansas, and then he got an egg sandwich. It's a good egg sandwich.
That's your...
I'm serious.
I guess it would have to be. I've just never heard anything like. So that's your lead in whenever you bring comics in, like, hey, thanks for doing my show. Can I make you an egg sandwich and be on my podcast?
No, it's, hey man, I make a baller egg sandwich. What are you guys doing for breakfast?
Oh, you really sell it.
Yeah, and they're like, oh, we'll come over to your house, and then they come over, and like I have like podcasting equipment surreptitiously set up in the middle.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, I'll just put my podcast.
It's like inviting a girl over and there's candles already suddenly lit.
No, I'd never do that because it burned the apartment down.
Oh, okay.
It's irresponsible.
Oh, you're all about code, right?
I'm also somebody that didn't buy renter's insurance.
Okay. So hey man, one of the things that one of the reasons why I brought you on here, aside from the fact that we had a good time the last time I was up there, I think that was the Tim Northern show.
Yes.
It was so much fun, but ever since then, we linked up on Facebook, and I've been following what you've been doing. And comedy in Arkansas, it goes up and down and up and down. There's different waves. And one of the things that I noticed was that you were just relentlessly up there putting on shows, and I was so focused on what's happening in Little Rock because I never go up to Fayetteville. I never go up that area.
Right.
It's this weird division between Little Rock and Fayetteville. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it doesn't. People will go up there for games, but it's not like you hop in the car and go, hey, let's go to Fayetteville to drink or hang out tonight, unless there's something really big going on, vice versa. So So it was cool to see what you have done up there, and I'm skipping ahead, but I'd like to go through that process. You worked with this place called The Grove, right?
Yeah.
So how did that come about? Can you talk a little bit about that?
The Grove. Well, basically, I started getting a bunch of like people tagging me in somebody's status, so I go look at it, and basically somebody was like, "I'm looking to do some comedy stuff. Who should I talk to about comedy?" So a few people had tagged me because they'd seen me do comedy before,
right?
And And so within 48 hours, like that literally went from that conversation to 48 hours later, we had the blueprint for the Grove.
Really?
Yeah, it's that quick.
So was this place already open, or were they just added?
No, it was open. It was a restaurant, and the restaurant side of things was doing okay. Like, it wasn't phenomenal. It wasn't terrible. Just a routine restaurant.
Right.
And then the owner is he's a veteran, and he's been in Somalia. So, like, automatically, like, he wants to execute at a speed that I'm quick when it comes to business execution.
Right.
He's quick to the point where I'm like, holy like.
He just told you what he wanted, and it's like, let's do it.
It was like, he was like, okay, I'm going to open a comedy club in 30 days. And I was like,
what?
Yeah, you have a restaurant, man. And he's like, okay, so come back in like 6 days. And I did, and he torn out the entire right side of it. His name's Bill. And Bill, a crazy old guy. Like, he's been in Somalia. Like, he's like shot at people. He's been shot at. Which is kind of why I was like, are you sure you want to partner with me? Like, is this not going to be like triggering issues for you? And so he ripped out the entire right side and built the stage to spec. Mm-hmm. And I picked how wide I wanted, how big I wanted it, what I wanted for the flooring, what I wanted for the backdrop, all of that.
I know that this is kind of technical, and I don't mean to interrupt, but I remember when we were at the what was the brewery that we were out doing? Did that show? Bentonville
Brewing Company.
That was actually a really cool room. I really liked that a lot. The vibe was great in there. The people seemed like they really wanted to be there and have a good time and listen to some comedy. But I noticed that you were really meticulous as far as setting up the mics, making sure volumes were good and all that. So I know that it comes from just being involved in actually doing things, that you learn these things. But when it comes to setting up an actual comedy club and being sort of a consultant for that, where did you go to get into, like, how big do I need the stage? Where do we need the lights? Like, how did you find that stuff out? Because there's probably some other people out there who, especially in Little Rock area, that want to branch out. Yeah,
I've been doing it for a long period of time. Like, when I first started, I didn't get too much stage time my first year. And then I started producing shows. And I remember, like, I played a multitude of rooms until I figured out what I liked. Yeah. As an artist or as a comic, I knew what I liked.
Right.
And then I started getting to, like, a really, like, sort of crazy... I've got a pretty weird mentality when it comes to some of this stuff. Mm-hmm. Like, if I like something, I'll learn as much as I can about it. Like, when it came to comedy, I did the same thing.
Yeah.
Like, I started setting up shows sort of in the dark, and I got better at it because I was doing it enough. But sort of by, like, that second year, I performed not this year, but last year, I performed, my goal was 52 and 52. So 52 shows, 52 weeks. I ended up doing 80 in 52 weeks.
How much of that was open mic? Not to take away from your goal, because stage time is stage time.
I didn't count open mics in the list. And I actually don't do the local open mic.
Really?
I don't like that last year. I didn't mic at all.
Man, that's the same thing that Chris was doing, though. Yeah. I mean, without getting into the why and this and that, but I mean,
it's just he's a voluminous amount. It's like some part of it's like you can hope. Yeah. At this point, I think I know, like, I can get feedback for myself quickly. Right. I can do a show. I did. The last 3 nights I've been on stage in preparation for tonight, and I've made some slight changes with what I want to do. But back in the day, I didn't have that knack of performing it and hearing it without recording it. Okay. Like, just feeling the room out. So that last year, it was just brute force. So I used to study. So
you weren't feeling the room out. You were just going in there and you were this is my material. I have to get it down.
I was, but it was taking me longer. I don't write my jokes out fully. Like,
I don't either.
I have like 4 or 5 words, and then I know the joke in my head and how I want it to go, because a lot of it's coming from like personal experience.
That is exactly how I do it too.
Yeah. So when it comes to setting up a comedy club, I don't know. I mean, I've been involved in running a business in some way or another since I was about 11 years old. Yeah. Almost every single year.
Without making a joke, is that like the immigrant thing? Like just the grind? Maybe. Like, I mean...
You should make that joke.
You know?
No, because my I don't know. My dad's always been the kind of person that's like, stick to the corporate route. It's safe. Like, just study hard. And a lot of my friends have done that.
So entrepreneurship was not something that was pushed?
No, not really. But then, like, me and my buddy Ronnie, we're both like, we're dickheads. Yeah. Like, we were just the most. I think we were mediocre students that were like good at like reading our world. Mm-hmm. Me and my best friend, like, growing up. So.
But you were doing what you knew, right?
I was doing things that just interested me. I wasn't always interested in the things that other people wanted to do or other people thought I should do. I just wanted to do what I wanted to do. Right. So over a long period of time, some of that knowledge accumulates. I used to love The Apprentice with Donald Trump.
Oh, yeah.
I used to love it when I was a kid, and I picked up little things from that show. Like to this day, like there's certain things that I know I'd use in business from watching that show. Not from watching Donald Trump, but from watching the other contestants on that show.
Well, regardless of what you think of the man, and regardless of what you think of his business practices, he's got some. He at least, even if you hate him, you have to say that he's got at least a solid baseline of how to run a business and understand concepts. And that's an understatement.
I say that a lot, so he won't kick me out the country. I think Donald's great. If you're out there listening, NSA, let me stay in America.
We've got our eye on Raj.
No,
Keep an eye on Raj.
I without getting into the finer parts of whether Donald Trump is the right thing for America and the world or not, there were things I learned from that show, but also from a bunch of other stuff. Like if you look at my bookcase, it's all biographies.
Oh, really?
It's almost entirely biographies. I got some of my favorite guys on there, like Jay-Z. I learned some stuff from Malcolm X's books. It's right next to Donald Trump's on my bookshelf. Jackie Chan was a really good biography read.
Really?
Gordon Ramsay was phenomenal.
Yeah.
And then you obviously have like your Robert Greens of the world and like stuff like that. You got your standard business, art of war, strategy books that every guy puts up on his like shelf to seem like he's tough and knows something.
Zen and the art of motorcycle maintenance or some shit like that.
Some crap that makes you look manly.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, that's interesting.
Trevor Noah's new book is incredible. Born a Crime.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I haven't. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm just not a big reader. If I am, I'm reading fiction. Lately, I've been getting more into. I've been reading more into like communications books. There's one that I've been reading called "Thank You for Arguing," and it's about rhetoric.
Okay.
And this guy, he ended up coming across a book on rhetoric that I believe Sam. Who was it?
Talent.
Sam Talent wrote it. Yeah. Anyway, he came across it, and then he started getting into rhetoric big time. And it was just the communication, how to basically get what you want out of a conversation, right? So I was reading that and some other stuff. Thank you for arguing is what I just mentioned. But then there's a lot of sales books that I've been reading as well, which I'm in sales, but at the same time, it's all about communication, how you talk to people, you know.
And I think in some ways that's part of what I'm not good at. Like I'm not. Which that's a scary thing for a stand-up comedian to not be good at talking.
Communication is different than telling your story, right? When you get on stage, like, if you're communicating with someone, you're talking one-on-one like we are right now, but when you're on stage, you're telling your story, right? Because you wrote these jokes, and in essence, that's your book. You're just dictating it. You know? Yeah,
so with my material on stage, I feel okay as far as how I'm doing my storytelling work.
Right.
But as far as like business conversations go, I still think I'm okay. I'm just not. I don't know if I'm always like. I like playing solo. That's why I like stand up. Like there's certain elements that I want to execute in a time frame and to a standard that I'm frankly not going to find enough time to explain and do. Like I'd rather just put it on myself and do it. And then there's other times like you bump into guys like Bill over at the Grove and you're like, okay, like this guy is going to outwork me.
Right.
So I'm interested in figuring out.
Yeah, I see where you're coming from with that. So how was the stand-up comedy scene in that area before you started coming around and doing your thing? More
or less, I don't think there was much, if I'm being honest. Without being disrespectful, I think the scene in Bentonville has seen a decent amount of work put into it over the last 3 to 4 years. And my approach when it comes to that kind of stuff is very nonstop. Like I don't have the ties that most people traditionally have, families out the country, so I have that extra time. And then by year 2 of stand-up, I was so into it that I literally cut all my drinking out, wasn't partying, worked, I think, 40 of my 52 weeks, or weekends in the year, and just picked up like a huge amount of knowledge fairly fast. Like I like
the process of it.
The actual construction of how we're going to go about doing this. But honestly, like I get approached all the time by young comics now. And it's probably the most infuriating thing because like they're like, oh yeah, like let's sit down and talk about the business of comedy.
Oh,
why?
Geez.
You're like 2 months into it.
Yeah.
You've done open mic 8 times. Why are you even considering? Because like that's the thing that I don't want people to get the idea of doing. It's like, don't think that simply because, you know, I'm good at business. Like that's the turnkey reason that things happen. I also spent a lot of time getting good at comedy, and there's people that will say, like, I've heard this like a billion times about myself. Like Raj is better as a promoter, better as a marketer, better as a business person than he is as a comic. I 100% agree. But I've been doing business since I was about 11 and comedy since 23.
Yeah.
So there's a knowledge gap that becomes sort of rote. Like Chappelle started at 14, and I'm not saying you're automatically going to be a better comic than somebody else because you've been doing it longer, because that's just not true. But you're more likely to have picked up things that the other person might not have had you been doing it 10 years, right? There's a reason some of these guys can go work cruises and do 4 different 30-minute shows, like literally every night.
Yeah.
They have that backlog.
Yeah.
Bill from The Grove wrote, "Nope, you're better as a comic." LOL. Yeah, I agree, Dick.
That's I understand where they're coming from though, man. Like if you just look at comedy without getting into a long conversation of why do you love comedy and this and that, because everyone's got their own reasons. But I think that is what you just said. You like being solo, right? And so I think that is why people get so gung-ho from the start, and they want to have that conversation with you because they get on stage and they go, holy shit, I just did that by myself.
Right.
And I had this effect on all these people by myself, even though it's open mic. And there are some open mics that are much more forgiving than other open mics if you're not a solid comedian, you know? And the logistics of actual comedy or the how-to is really dumb because everyone's got their own style, and really when it comes down to it is once you find your voice, then it doesn't matter what anyone else fucking says, because you're just gonna you've got it figured out
and you know what works for your audience.
Exactly. But I think that's why you have people come to you and you say that and they say that shit to you, like, hey, let's talk about the business of comedy, because it's such a rewarding feeling. You get that rush of dopamine and just it's just like, holy shit, that was all me. I did all of that. So how can I go further, quicker?
I definitely get that.
You know?
But like what I was doing in my first 6 to 12 months was I was going up to comics on my scene and literally being hypercritical of my material. And I still feel like I maybe have 3 sets in the entire year where I'm like, I couldn't have done that any better tonight. Mm-hmm. You could have put somebody else up in front of me or after me, and like I felt like I could have held my own on that bill in a big city, right? Yeah. Like, so in my first year of comedy, I was doing that all the time.
How'd you get people to come out to the shows in an area that didn't have a big scene?
Dude, I used to go after work almost every single day. I used to go to bars and literally like meet random people. And I wasn't always drinking even. I would either try to set up a show, and in the process while I'm there, I'm like, hey, this is a show coming up. I was doing 1 show a month, and the room held about 170. And the first time I did it, we broke fire code. We had like 178 people there.
Oh, awesome.
But I've been working on building that base for a long period of time. The second part though is I had a phenomenal circle of friends. Like I got a really, really good base in Bentonville of really like people who are excited about finding new things and telling each other about it. Like Bentonville is that area.
So they got excited because this is new. Regardless of what it was, you could have been getting into something else, like, hey, I'm bringing the soapbox derby here. Like, I'm going to be the best at it.
Yeah, like midget wrestling is doing great right now. Like, I'm serious. I don't know if midget's like the politically correct term or what, but like little people, I don't know. They bill it as midget wrestling.
That's all right, man. You're making immigrant jokes. I think you can make midget jokes too.
So, I don't know. People were excited, but I also knew that if you can use their excitement to get them in the room the first time. Like anybody will go watch a show once, but if it sucks, they're not coming back.
Man.
And I think therein lies the entire, like, when it comes to what I want to produce, it's my name on there. And I've run into problems with comics because I won't book everybody. I'll book the people that I think cohesively work the best, that I find easy to work with, that I think are going to deliver well, and that's really it. Like, those are the 3 things. And a lot of times, people who are funny, they're very funny. It's just that we might not have like the best relationship, right? So it's a little prohibitive, but once you've built up the infrastructure, I think it's really, really important to take care of that collectively. So if I build in Bentonville and there's other cities trying to do things, it's absolutely fine. We just need to figure out a way to scale things correctly, because I seem to remember a time like maybe if you actually study like regional comedy and talk to enough people, Austin underwent very similar things to what we have now. They had a really quickly growing MSA. They were ranking really hard. They just didn't have an arts culture that was as nationally recognized until South by Southwest showed up. And the moment it happened, I think it exploded, and the comics there did a phenomenally good job of like figuring out their space and how to work around each other and work around their beefs for the sake of the scene.
That's important, man.
It's very
important. That's I mean, I'll just go out there and say I think a lot of people know where I stand as far as some of the local shows in Little Rock, and I'm not trying to disparage anyone at all, but that's the thing. Like, I don't have a problem if you're going to put on a local show, if you bring on someone who's new to comedy and you want to give them a shot, like put them on stage, right? I don't have a problem with that. But when you start pumping out these shows in volume, right, like over and over, quantity over quality sort of takes precedence, and then it's like, well, let me get all my friends on this, and it's like
showcasing and showcase versus showcasing. Like, you know, I think there's a difference between like, you know, channeling showcases out and trying to create something unique and open micing, and it's to each their own. I don't know, you know, I don't want to comment too much on how other people produce,
right?
But for me, like, whether it's an open mic or a showcase, I never really am like, I'll never go up there and be like, okay, like I'm just gonna like work some stuff out. Like, that to me is like, there's still an audience of people here. So whether it's 5, like I used to play to like 5 people. It's okay. If you get 1, you know you're in the right vicinity. So it's always hard, but I understand what you're saying. Like, volume is not all important. There's quality.
Well, like you said, man, you get them out there, and you can get them out the first time, but if they overpaid for something that doesn't deliver, what are the chances that they're going to come out the next time?
You know what? The word overpaid gets me onto something. Like, so Bill and I at the Grove have this constant disagreement. Like, he thinks that we should raise the ticket
Bill's
prices.
watching right now.
He said, what will the scene be in Northwest Arkansas when you move on? I don't know, Bill. You stole my business plan. You have all of it. Figure it out. The new Grove is going to be moving to the Lowell location, right by JB Hunt on Apple Blossom. Overpaid or not. So this is a big thing that I see a lot of comics being told to do. Like, don't play for free.
Yeah.
Yes and no. Don't undercut your colleagues, because then you screw everybody over. But if you're gonna do a free show, do a free show. That to me is okay. Like, in a scene where there's no culture and no bankable trust of like there's no like really like a robust set of shows that people can trust will always be good. It's gonna be hard to get people through the door if you charge them. Bill wrote, "Never play for free." I'm charging you double for that. I've played the number of times I've done the stage at the Grove for free.
That's pretty cool.
He makes it up in alcohol.
Yeah,
and covers my tab.
Hey, there you go, man. Well, you helped him build it. How's it going up there at the Grove?
It's going well. So the current location we just closed. We're moving to a bigger location down in Lowell, and so that's a big jump.
How many seats?
We were at 110 at the old location, but realistically about 90, and this will probably be about 150-ish, maybe more or plus. I don't know how. It all depends on how you seat. With tables, probably 150. Theater style for the bigger acts, you can scale it to I think 300. Honestly.
Oh wow.
Then there's also a 5-acre lot that it's on, so it's 8,500 square feet. 5-acre lot behind it, and the outdoor stage is something that you can use as well. So it's a lot of space.
Yeah, that's going to be awesome.
It's a lot of good space.
So you filmed your special at the Grove. I wanted to get to that.
Yeah.
How did that come about? When did you think that you were ready to do something like that? How long did you do it? Give me the rundown, man.
I just knew that at the Grove, we were scheduled to demo that for like 8 weeks. And
well, how did you get to the point? I'm sorry to cut you off. How did you get to the point when you were like, I think I'm ready to do a special?
Yeah, so for me, it was like, I've tried to shoot 3 times now. Most people don't know that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I failed twice. And even on this last filming, like, there's certain parts of the film that I don't feel like I want to charge people for. And there's certain jokes I want to drop, so which is why I scaled it back to an audio release. Like, it just felt better to do it that way. You'll still see the footage, but the audio release is what I felt comfortable charging people for. And so what I remember thinking is just like, at a certain point, I knew the Grove was scheduled to be a demo for about 8 to 12 weeks. We were pushing towards week 16. And after that, I knew it was going to close and move. I also knew that I had purpose-built so much of this environment, like given so much input on how it should feel and how hot that room could be. I've watched national acts that have played like Craig Ferguson, Leno, Kimmel, telling each other, like, go down there and do that room. It's hot.
Really?
Like, go play it. And the Grove on a Friday night is a hot room. It's very, very hard to fail. So I knew that if the stage that I had helped like put together and prep and plan was about to go away, I wanted to be there and do it before it vanished. Like that was my whole thought process. And I also thought like, dude, like I've been doing this material for some time now.
Yeah.
I want to clear the deck. Like I want to empty my head of it, put it out there so people can hear it, and then I'm forced to write new stuff.
How often were you changing up your set in that area? And the reason I ask this is because Bentonville isn't New York. It ain't Chicago. It's not LA. The population is nowhere close to any of those places. Right. So you have a lot of people who are repeat, right? That like, hey, we like Raj. We like what he's doing. We like the shows that he's putting on.
Yeah.
How much of your attitude was, fuck it, I'm going to do the same set and keep working it out.
Yeah. And
these people are going to pay and they're going to enjoy the set that I'm doing versus, man, I'm doing all these shows, I'm putting it on, I'm getting the same people to come out. Now they're seeing different feature acts and different headliners, but I'm going up there and I'm doing these sets. That's got to be a hard thing, that push and pull, like, because you're trying to build a base, right?
I would say that if you've ever watched my show, you could watch me 2 nights in a row and it won't feel identical. Yeah. Like, unless I'm taping, I'm going to have enough crowd work in there, always. Like, and I feel pretty strong about the way I operate in a crowd work environment, and that's so dynamic and fluid. Like, it's created live, the medium's in front of you, the artist is in front of you. So if I do crowd work, it keeps the show fresh. But beyond that, like, I don't arrange the jokes in the exact same order, and some of the jokes are complex, some of them are simple, and then some parts of it is just storytelling where I'm actually not gunning for a punchline deliberately. I'm not trying to do line laugh, I'm not trying to make you laugh every 12, 15, 20 seconds. I might go a minute and a half, not make you laugh at all. Make the point, set up the joke, and then get the big payoff at the end. Yeah. So I think it's variety of material, but also, like, I opened at the casino, and that was a 9-show or 9-weekend thing.
Oh, wow.
And when I did it, I remember thinking, like, holy crap, this is a lot. Like, I'm going to have to come up with a fresh 15 in front of some national headliner every week. And if there's a crowd that sees you more than once, it's the casino. Yeah. Because it's the same VIPs.
It's people whales. Playing for the mortgage.
It's a lot. It's a lot of people trying to get off the floor and just watch the show. And the booker there does a phenomenal job. Her name's Lacey Applegate. And she gave me...
which casino?
Cherokee out in West Siloam. Gave me a fantastic series of opportunities, and I'll always be, like, grateful to her for that. And whenever I've been unavailable, she was like, do you know anyone else that's good? And I was like, okay, like, talk to Andrew Deacon, talk to Shauna Blake. And she's been providing a ton of opportunity for people in that area. So I learned a lot from working with those people, and I think that's where one of the biggest turns for me came. Like, remember when I was like, I always used to go up to people, like, ask their advice on my set? So I asked Julian McCullough is this comic who did Guy Code and Fallon and a bunch of... Yeah, I know who he is. So he was there, and he's the first comic I'd ever seen live, period. Saw him open up for Colbert when Steve Colbert was doing the Colbert Report. So he was the warm-up comic on the taping, and so I saw, and 7 years later, I was opening for him. So I told him this whole thing, and the story in a nutshell is, like, the night of the Colbert taping, he was like, so who came here from furthest away? And some guy was like, China, and another guy was like, Rhode Island, trying to be a dick. Yeah. And I had my hand up, and then he didn't pick me. So 7 years go by, I tell him about this, and I was like, I came from the fucking furthest away, man. Like, I've waited for this. So, and that night, his feature, for whatever reason, I think the flight got canceled, and so I got the feature for him, and he watched my entire set. 15, 20-minute set, breaks it down for like 3 hours line by line.
Really?
Yeah, ripped it apart.
Wow.
And he's just like, you just seem really angry, and you can't be. Like, you can, I guess. Like, there's angry comics, it just doesn't work for you. Like, you're trying to get up there, and there's genuine rage and venom inside of you, and it shows. Like, you're scaring people. And he was right.
Really?
I went back and deconstructed a lot of what
Why was that, though? What did he pick up on, man? What were you doing?
I used to do a ton of political humor.
Oh, yeah.
And I used to get angry about that. And I used to be, I think, if this election's taught me anything, it's that if you condescend to people on the right, votes are even. Yeah. So you can have your opinion, but the moment you start calling them stupid, guess what they're going to do? They're going to do the thing that infuriates you the most. Doesn't matter if it's right or wrong. You're not going to sway people by insulting them.
Oh, yeah.
So he kind of showed me that. And then we've remained friends ever since. Like, anytime I have a question, I shoot him a message. He'll message me right back. He was one of the first people that listened to the actual album. Yeah. And then 3 weeks ago, I got to open for him in Charlotte. And he was like, yeah, I'm just working out some stuff for late night tonight. And then, like, 2 days ago, I'm like, I turn on TV, he's on James Corden.
That's nuts.
And it was a great set. If you haven't seen Julian, I posted it off my page.
Yeah.
His set on James Corden was awesome.
Yeah.
I was very, very happy to see it.
So I'm guessing your political humor that you were doing, you were like really condescending, like you dopey right wingers, this or that. Is that what was going on, or what was it?
It was more deadpan. Like it was like if you watch Trevor Noah at the start of his run with the Daily Show, that's kind of like I had the same struggle that he had, which is we don't like overseas political humor is very deadpan. It's just like you point out how stupid something is and then you leave it.
Yeah.
But in America, you have to set the joke up. You have to set the tags and the premise and the punchlines, and you have to wrap it all up with a bow and present it to people and indicate where the laughter should be.
I wonder how much of that though is. I'm being completely serious. I wonder how much of that though is simply the cadence and the accent when you're doing deadpan. Because if you think about it, a lot of English comics can get away with deadpan.
Yeah.
So easily, and and Americans love that type of stuff.
The culture appreciates it a little bit better,
right?
Like they're funny to each other because they understand what he's trying to say.
Yeah.
In American comedy, what I've noticed, and in America in general, what I've noticed is people take what you're saying at face value and don't weigh the intention behind it. So some of this stuff is difficult on stage. Like I make jokes about Jesus, and they think that I'm actually insulting Jesus, or like I actually feel a certain way about Jesus, versus just going, like he's goofing around. He's made fun of a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
I do some stuff right now that's a little bit like that, like where people are like on the fence about it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I told.
Do you run into that though? Like, do you run into heavier criticism? I mean, because as you say, you're a brown dude.
Yes and no. Like I do a joke. Like the other day, I was at a brewery and I was like, "Hey man, the Indians are taking over your town. You know that, right?" And I was like totally serious about it. And they started laughing. I was like, "I'm not kidding. Like we started with a restaurant and now we own the biggest building outside of Walmart. Like we're coming for your neighborhood. We're 10% of your population." And they thought it was hilarious. And then I was like, "Well, but don't throw me out though, because like DACA is real.
Yeah.
I would like to stay." Continue taking over this place, and just went, support the troops. And then I stopped and I was like, I didn't say which troops, and I know you guys would wonder. People get scared. I think over time, like now that I have a little bit of an audience there, I think people know what I'm like. I'm pretty laid back, man. Yeah, I'm not a very serious person.
It's for anyone who ends up listening to this who's not in Arkansas, I can imagine that
the shock of all of it.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. Like I would think that people coming in here, I'll just jump right into it. I wondered how much of it. I wanted to know how much of it was just like, why is this Muslim dude telling jokes in our chat? Because I mean, let's just it's fucking Arkansas, Muslim. Man. Yeah, exactly. I know. That's what I'm saying. Like, I wonder how much of
it's one of the 50 Shades of Brown. It's understandable. I think at first, but you know what? I've lived in the Middle East around British people and Irish people. I've had friends from around the world and lived in India and then been here for 9 years now. Here's what I know from that entire process is like, even when I've encountered racists, they're hardly ever the kind of people to pipe up when you confront them. Yeah. They tend to go really quiet, and then they bitch about it later, which I'm fine with. Like, you don't have to come back and watch me twice.
Well, I would hope that you'd be fine with it, because at least you don't have to deal with it, you know?
Sometimes I do talk to people and get their opinion on stuff, and it is, like, blanket racist, sort of stupid, but it's at the same time, like, I get mad, but you have to contain it.
Are they ignorant of how they sound, though? Is it one of those things where you don't... Okay.
Like, I spoke to a guy, he just didn't know better. Yeah. Like, he just hadn't seen enough of the world. Like, he was... so blind to the fact that he was speaking to somebody and getting defeated in an argument, and I was beating him up in my second language. Like, if this is happening to you, it's not because like people are CK has a great joke about that. Like, if somebody from a foreign country with no contacts and no English shows up and steals your job, maybe you deserve to have your job stolen. Right. That's kind of sometimes what's happening, right? And at the same time, like, racism is something that I'm so accustomed to that I know that if I allow it to get to me, I'll always be angry. Right. It still does. Every now and then it'll sneak up and bite me in the neck. But by the largest token of time that I can look at, like, I've been accustomed to racism in the United States since freshman year of college.
How does it compare to other places in the world?
I think over here there's a different feeling. I don't know how to explain it, but like when I'm condescended to or when I deal with racism, I never felt like violence was about to spill over or violence was an option that would occur in the process of racism.
It was more just to belittle you?
If anything, it was the other way. Like people overseas would get violent and then their racist side would spill out.
Really?
They would try to hurt you with what they were saying. And over here, it's like they work, like the people that I've been in racist confrontations with, very innocuous. They'll work themselves into a frenzy and things will get out of hand.
Yeah.
That's what confuses me. Like,
so the process is different over there, like anywhere else in the world where you get into a fight and then just to take an extra dig after they land a shot or something like that, then it's kind you so and such this or that. But over here, over here, it's like it depends on where you live and who you're encountering. Right. But some of these things are real beliefs that people hold. How's it? Well, you said that you've traveled around and whatnot, but how has it been here in Arkansas for you?
Arkansas is my favorite place.
Yeah,
it's been my favorite. Where I live in Arkansas has been my favorite place in America. My least favorite place has been, unfortunately, Dallas, Texas.
Yeah,
didn't like it.
That's
did not like it. I mean, it's. I think in Arkansas, racism, like someone on there just wrote racism's out fear. I don't know. It's a little bit about fear, but racism in the modern day and age is also a byproduct of people trying to control your economics. Like, that's what it is.
I can see that.
They're keeping societies in check by keeping us divided because it ultimately, like, that is a power structure that reinforces who stays in power monetarily.
Sure.
So I kind of Bill just said you have to say this shit for the visa.
It's
racist. No, Bill's just showing up with the most virulent comments on this entire thread.
That's funny, man.
No, I think it's hard sometimes.
Yeah.
But Arkansas has been very, very kind to me.
Yeah. It's encouraging that you say that because one of the... I like hearing you say that Arkansas is the favorite place that you've lived because I'm from Ohio originally, and
nice.
In Dayton.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and
There's a funny bone out there.
Yeah, dude.
Dayton, Ohio.
And I came down here around 2003 or so, and I've been here off and on since then. But the first few years I was in school, and so I'd go home on the summer, but I ended up staying here, and I ended up I didn't like this place at first. It was like culture shock for me. But after being here and, getting married and now living here, having a career and all that, it got to a point where I was like, man, I really love Arkansas. I really love this area. And so that's one of the reasons why I wanted to get this thing going was just like, hey, I wanted to have something local. I wanted to have something that was, from this area and had intelligent people come on here, because I've said in other podcasts, it's unfortunate that Arkansas is just the easy back pocket go-to joke, know?
Right. Like, I make fun of people in Cleveland for that. When I tell them, like, I'm from Arkansas, they're like, oh, I was like, what the fuck? You're from Cleveland.
Yeah.
They say that about you guys, too.
Cleveland is, I love Cleveland, but it's a pile of metal.
It's a nice city, though. I like it.
There's some good areas of it.
Their comedy clubs are great.
Man, I've never been up there for that.
Hilarities is really nice.
Yeah.
The improv is nice in the flats. And then the funny stuff in Cuyahoga Falls is kind of cool as well.
Yeah. You can get into some really, really fucked up areas of Cleveland now.
No, yeah.
Yeah. It's rough. How many times were you up there?
I've been to Cleveland a bunch, man.
Yeah?
I've been to Cleveland maybe like 5-6 times now.
Yeah?
Yeah.
For comedy or?
Comedy stuff and sometimes, just traveling. And,
okay.
I just... I'll tell you what I like about Arkansas most that I didn't like about Dallas, because I know that I like certain parts about the South, like it's very low cost, not expensive to be there. But what I like about Arkansas versus Dallas is like this is the entire thing that I kind of was pointing out before. Like, money changes the way people act. I lived in uptown Dallas. I could walk into a bar, my corner bar right by my apartment all the time, and people would just stop and turn and stare at me.
Really?
It was the weirdest feeling. It was like I had achieved fame without any effort to do so.
Yeah.
Yeah, just recognition. And sometimes people will tell you like some of this stuff's in your head, but I know. I got enough confrontations in Dallas, Texas.
In an uppity area of Dallas.
I'll tell you, in the nicest area, like me and my buddy Evan, went to a club, right? And we're first in line to get into the club, and we're dressed, waiting, and the guy's like, okay, it's a bit of a wait. This guy keeps us waiting for 40 minutes. And then finally, we've been standing in front of him the whole time. Finally, he like looks at both of us. He looks inside their space, and he looks down. He's like, "Oh, you're wearing tennis shoes. I can't let you in." And so I'm like, "What the fuck, dude? Like, this is bullshit." Like, Evan ends up like pushing me away. Like, let's not do this. And I look, and he lets the next guy in, who's wearing pretty much the exact same thing, and his buddy who's in sandals. So I point this out to him, and I was like, "Hey, dickhead! Like, he's wearing sandals. Are you gonna tell him he can't go in?" And I've encountered enough racism in Dallas to know what I'm seeing.
Yeah.
I haven't had that here. I'm like their local favorite Indian. Now, I know other Indians in Arkansas, other minorities in Arkansas do face racism. I'm not like gonna OJ this and be like, oh, I'm not brown, I'm Raj. Like that's not, I'm not going for that. But I'm just saying, like, by and large, the Bentonville area, there's enough Indian people there. There's enough exposure. There's enough of an educated populace. And they're really not, like, people in Arkansas are not what the media portrays them to be on average.
Yeah, man. It's the weird thing is the majority of the population is in Northwest Arkansas and in Central Arkansas.
Right.
And if you talk to the majority of the people in that area and this area, I don't feel like you come across.
Harrison's making us look bad. Come on,
Yeah, that's what it is, man. It's these smaller towns.
It's the pockets.
That's where it comes from, and then it gets generalized across the state, and that's not.
There's a guy
that's not indicative of how people are.
Yeah, there's a guy that's trying to do comedy in Arkansas, in Harrison.
In Harrison,
and invited me to do a show, and I don't know.
Did you go up there?
I'm considering it.
Oh, it hasn't happened.
I don't know.
Oh shit, dude.
But I don't care. Like, I don't care if it's the KKK. If I can make you laugh and make you quit, it might be worth a shot.
No, I get that. It's just like the idea. The idea of it is But
see, the thing is, like, a lot of people are like, oh, you gotta watch out. Like, you'll get beaten up going down here and there.
Yeah.
I've seen racists. Some of the things that happen, like terrible racist acts that occur, are happening right now in the middle of like big metropolises.
Yeah.
Like, people are getting pushed onto subway tracks in New York City. Like, that's a result. Like, and it's not like everywhere is safe. I also think, like, it hides better in big populations, racism, because you can get away with saying things and walking away.
Yeah.
Over here, someone said, don't do Harrison. Don't worry. I'll go down to Harrison, change some hearts, hopefully. I just lost that fear for the most part. Like, I saw Jim Jeffries. Have you seen the set where he gets punched in the head in Manchester? So he gets punched in the head in the middle of his set and starts bleeding, I think, if I'm not wrong. The guy gets escorted out, and Jim Jeffries just gets back up and starts doing his jokes. That's the reality of this. Not everybody's going to be happy. Sometimes people will get violent.
I almost think. Do you have it? So, I only saw you that one time. Do you have a lot of self-deprecating humor?
I have a fair amount. When I play corporate gigs, because I can't like go after them. I can't. There's a lot of like rules when they want you to play clean and stuff. So like I self-deprecate, but only insofar as I feel like it's funny to make stereotype jokes until the moment that they actually start to believe them. Right.
I was going to say, I think that not that my opinion really matters when it comes to doing a show up in Harrison, but that almost might be, you pull the Eminem, White Rabbit thing at the end where it's just like, I am this, I am that.
I've done that for some time.
Yeah.
I know I can never make the Jesus jokes first. I gotta show them like, hey, I'm cool. Let's take some shots at me.
You can't do that shit in Harrison.
So you could be cool too, because I'm gonna take some shots at you, and then I'll take shots at both of us, and that's usually how I construct the set. It's me, them, and everybody. It's like equal opportunity offensiveness is kind of what I'm going for. But even if it is like, dude, like, the most racist thing that ever happened to me happened at 3 a.m. outside of a McDonald's in a busy street at Penn State on the campus.
Really?
Yeah. Hands down. The most, like, I walked out of the McDonald's and some guy opens the doors walking the other way. He's a kid about my age, kind of drunk, hat on backwards, and he looks like Fred Durst with the goatee shaved off. And he's just like, hey, where are you going, Muhammad? And I was like, what the fuck? And he's just like, he starts going off on this tirade against, like, Arabs. And I'm over there like, dude, we're not the same. But even, like, it's not cool to do it anyway. Like, I have Arab friends.
Yeah.
But it was weird because like
I'm glad you clarified. It's just like it's not the same. You can do what you were doing.
No, you can't be a racist either way. What was weird about it was that people were just watching.
Oh, really?
And I didn't really drink very much, so I'm like sober, like going into McDonald's to get like medium fries because the only thing that's open on campus. And now I got to deal with this guy. And
nobody's doing anything.
Watching it go down like it's like some freaking, like it's like a world star hip hop thing. That, my friend Bhavani said, was that during the Osama riot? No, Osama bin Laden got killed. And at this point, I'm a resident assistant, and people know that I've kind of got like a sense of humor. Mm-hmm. So Osama bin Laden gets killed. I hear the guys in the hallway yelling, and I'm the resident assistant on the floor.
Yeah.
So I open my door up, and I was like, what the fuck's going on? And this guy named Andrew, I think it was Andrew, runs by me, and he goes, we just killed your uncle.
Oh, my God.
And like, look, it's a fucked up thing to say, but I know him, and I weigh his intention into what he's saying.
Yeah.
Like, he's trying to be a goofball, right? And so I laughed at it. Like, I thought it was hilarious.
Yeah.
But then when there's actual malice, that's the key thing. Like, we're entering this political climate where people aren't weighing intention.
You are absolutely right. I mean, I've gotten into a fair amount of Facebook debates lately, which is so dumb. I don't know why I let myself do it.
Oh,
but
those are the best.
I can't. I see these people make these statements, these broad sweeping generalizations, and I'm not talking about people on the right that are doing it. I'm talking about people on the left who are being so, who think that they are speaking in the name of like, they want equity, you know, they want equity, and it's like, it's not going to happen. People are not all the same, and so you kind of have to, you know, you have to make you get into these discussions, and then they get very offended because they think that you're advocating for some sort of like, we're better than you and this and that, and it's like, that's not it. You just have to be realistic about how people are approaching all of this, you know?
Yeah, I think the left has does have better social values. They make better sense. I think
the method is wrong, though.
I think what they need to remember, like, I'm more left than I am right. I think what we need to remember on the left is that votes are even. Mm-hmm. So you're not going to, like, if you want to take Trump out of office next go around, make sure that you're communicating with your neighbors instead of walling them up, because they beat us for a reason.
Yeah.
Because votes are even. That's the reality of the situation. Like, the guy could do whatever in office at this point. As long as you keep pointing the finger and going, are you like, do you see what you did?
Yeah.
Like,
well, it's gotten to a point where it is, if you don't completely agree with me and my side, then you must be for the opposite of what you must hold the antithesis of my belief set. And it's not the case. It's just
there's a middle ground.
Yeah, there is a middle ground, but I feel like that's being overlooked quite a bit, and that's what's causing a lot of the butting of heads and whatnot.
But that's because, like, I think Trump figured out what a lot of politicians didn't, because he's got a better look on the inside of the TV business.
Sure.
That's where elections in America are fought. It's not the actual rallies and all that. It's on TV.
But still, just like you said, you were in that apartment complex and you went down to your corner bar and you lived there and people looked at you a certain way. There's a way that you can communicate with the people around you in order to discuss these issues without just saying, oh, you're this or you're that. Like, you have to be able to discuss topics. Yeah. Topics can't be taboo, because if you make them taboo, just talking about them.
This is a comics mentality, you know? Like, the comedian in me leans left as far as social values and progressivism. Sure. And leans right as far as, like, don't tell me what I can and can't say.
Right. That's I'm on the exact same page as you.
Most comics are just like, the moment someone tells us, like, don't do that, we're that little kid that's like, okay, you said don't set it on fire. Where's the matches? Like,
I have to.
Now I have to go do it. I also think a lot of the time, like, we have this opportunity to listen to both sides. Like, I'm giving a TED Talk in October, and it focuses around this very issue and how hard it is to tell either side that they're wrong without getting them to hate you. Like, oh yeah, how do you get people to see your view, still like you after, and still, like, take it on board and actually act towards it? And it's difficult. Comedians, and I think a lot of entertainers know this space, because we and our paychecks and our ability to feed ourselves is directly attached to either going super niche and being super left or super right, or finding a way to ride the fence and try to unify people. Right. So we understand the dichotomy, because nothing will tell you the reality of the way people feel than you know the quote that if you're gonna tell the truth to people, make them laugh, otherwise they'll kill you. That's a quote. If you're gonna tell people the truth, make them laugh, otherwise they'll kill you. It becomes so apparent.
Yeah.
What side people take. You start cracking the Trump jokes, certain people laugh. You make Hillary jokes, other people laugh. You make Bernie jokes. It's very, very like literally like button push. You can tell, like, you can't tell from jokes about like, oh, we went to the mall the other day. Like, observational humor doesn't point it out to you. Political humor, instantly, it polarizes you as the person that they're watching.
I think it's because human nature wants us to have these absolutes. We want absolutes because then it takes away the
energy to think through the process.
Exactly. It's if you have an absolute, then it facilitates the whole argument. And the problem is, I don't see a lot of absolutes. I see a lot of faux absolutes that people are latching onto and then arguing from that standpoint. And so it gets to a point where you can't even discuss anything anymore.
Yeah, it feels...
It's unfortunate.
No, it's a little bit difficult, honestly. And it's hard because, like, I do see it. Like, I'm more left than right.
Yeah.
I just am. Like, I'd be a dummy to be... Like, I'm not Herman Cain, you know? Like, I'm not going to be, like, the minority Republican. I'm not Bobby Jindal.
Yeah.
You can't draft me in to fix your state and then get rid of me. Like, that's not how this works. I'm more lefty than I am righty. But I see sometimes where the pressures are applied, and it gives extreme and far right parties the opportunity to point at you and go, this is what you're doing wrong, this is why we can't get behind it. If you actually look at the issues that Donald Trump and the alt-right argue for, it's issues that are, in the grand scheme of things, like insignificant. They're fantastic because it is a polarizing thing that they can use as a pawn. They place that chip there, and now they don't have to talk about gun control anymore.
Yeah.
They don't have to talk about reproductive rights or abortion rights or, you know, women's equality or empowering people fairly or dealing with minorities or immigration. They can just move all these things away and start yelling about things that are like, you know, like we're talking about. I think there were pretty strong pushes in Congress to get some legislation enacted, and they started moving to a point where, like, he's just tweeting incessantly about storms and how great the crowds are.
Oh, yeah.
Who cares?
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, you're the president, and you should be acting better.
He says some really dumb shit.
He hasn't done it. He hasn't done it since he's been inaugurated, so the more you harp on him for it, he just knows that that's getting attention instead of the things you actually need him to focus on.
Well, I think one of the things that would really help is if we start realizing that issues can be compartmentalized, and just because someone has a differing view on a certain issue, don't paint them into a corner. Don't just say, oh, you feel this way about this issue, you must be this over here, because that doesn't necessarily define a person.
Yeah,
I mean, we all have different values. Yeah. Exactly, man.
And it's hard. It's hard because, like, how do you call someone an idiot? How do you call someone an idiot without saying it?
You call him an idiot on that certain issue.
I don't remember. Oh, one of the funnier jokes in my set that I like actually comes from a guy that I never thought, like, very redneck guy. And he came up to me and we were talking after the show. He's like, I liked your shit, man, but, you know, like, when you guys are speaking your native language to each other, I always feel like you're talking about me. And I just realized, like, he may or may not be right. Like, he's wrong about the fact that we're not always talking about other people.
Yeah.
He was right about the incidents to which a lot of people actually do believe that. Like, a lot of Caucasians...
We've created this atmosphere.
A lot of people who are Caucasians that only speak English get very, like... They feel that way, and that this is a true thing. And so I have a whole joke about how it's like when Caucasians that only speak English have two minorities speaking their native tongue in front of them, they react the same way that the white people in Jurassic Park do when the velociraptors start communicating with each other. So I do, like, this whole, like, impression of what it's like, and there's some crowd work pieces in there, and it helps to keep the show fresh.
I could see that, man. It feels the same way as, like, when you see someone whispering to someone, and even though they may not even be looking at you, not speaking a different language, but just whispering to each other, you go, they fucking talking about me? I know they're talking about me right now.
It's dangerous.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's a very interesting time in America.
Yeah, man. Absolutely. I'm glad that you're not running into a lot of that stuff in Arkansas, though. It's good to hear, and shit like that needs to be said, man.
I meet it all the time.
Yeah, but
I deal with it all the time.
But what you were saying earlier, not like it was in Dallas, like you'd
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Right. It's much better in Arkansas than it was in Dallas.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dallas, like every weekend somebody's confronting me over some like bullshit thing, and like, you know, like a guy fought me at a Coldplay concert. I'm serious. It's on the album. I talk about the whole thing. He thought I was hitting on his wife. And, like, he had a tap-out T-shirt on. He was the grumpiest guy in the world.
Oh,
you could tell his girl was so excited. She's
Everyone
like,
who wears those tap-out T-shirts.
His girl was like, oh, I'm so excited to see Coldplay. I was like, I'm so excited to see Coldplay. And then he looked over, and he was not excited to see me. But
he was excited to see Coldplay.
Threw a punch at me, bro. He threw a punch at my temple. He threw a punch left hook. And he, I still don't remember whether he hit me or not. My nose just hurt a lot the next day. But, yeah, I think he shoved me or something, and I'd had a few. But I was like all ready to go, and then I paid so much money for the tickets, and then like the lights went off and they started playing like Yellow or something. I was like, I can't fight you now. Yeah. God damn it. So anyway, it was hard.
Oh, that's great, man.
Yeah.
Fought you at a Coldplay
Fought me at a Coldplay concert.
That's unfortunate. It is funny though how you talk about how you just mentioned you had a few before you went and saw Coldplay.
Yeah.
How it doesn't matter what music you're listening to. Yeah. You're gonna have some drinks. It's like anytime you gotta have some booze
after that.
Oh really?
I stopped drinking. Like I'd seen like Coldplay like 2 or 3 times, and every time I was like, that was the best show of my life. And the next day I was like, I can't really remember it though.
Yeah, man.
So then like I watched Coldplay more or less sober like 3-4 times after that, and then I saw him again last month, and I'll see him again next month. I've watched Coldplay a lot. There's a joke about them on my album. If they ever ask me, if they're ever like, hey, like, would you drop everything and tour the world with us for no money, like just help us carry luggage around, I'd be like, yep, I'll do it.
Love some Coldplay.
I love me some Coldplay.
Hey, man, that first album, Parachutes
was great.
I wore that shit out.
The Blue Room was their first EP, and that's
we'll see. You're gonna go like deep cuts on me. I'm just a new
B-side vinyl.
Yeah. So speaking of the album, though, let's because we're coming up on an hour and we gotta get out to
show in 30 minutes.
Kyle Kinane. So let's do the plugs and the rundown. What's going on with the album, dude?
So the album, if you're looking to order it on iTunes, pre-order is up right now, and it's $7.99, and it'll go to $9.99 in a week. So chart positions on iTunes are calculated by how much you pre-sell to some degree, and what your first week sales look like. And so pre-order it, and if you haven't pre-ordered it, it's like $7 or $8. I don't know. People are jerks. Like, don't be a jerk. Just order it. And you get 2 tracks now. I think one of them is a Coldplay track.
Yeah.
If you're on Google Play, that's September 15th. They don't do a pre-order. And then if you want physicals, you can go to my website. So it's rajsuresh.com, and you can order physicals there.
All right, man. Any other shows coming up soon?
Well, obviously tonight with Kyle Kinane, and then I've got one I can't announce on November 4th just yet because they have to close on the contract paperwork. But other than that, I think September 22nd or 23rd.
Can you say where that's going to be?
Probably at the Cherokee Casino.
Okay.
Yeah. And then September 22nd or 23rd, I will have Bike Rack Brewing. So I'm slowly starting to get back into that swing of things. Yeah. And then as I plan a little bit more, I'm going to see if I can get out to a couple different cities around the United States this year and do that again.
Right on, man. Instagram, Twitter, all that shit?
It's at Raj Does Comedy on Instagram, on Twitter, and Facebook.com/Raj Does Comedy, RajDoesComedy.com, 1-800-Raj Does Comedy. There's no 1-800 number, but all my social media handles are at Raj Does Comedy.
Awesome. Well, I really appreciate you coming on the podcast today. It's been a really fun time shooting the shit with you, man, and talking about some of this stuff, what you got going on. It's great to have someone on here from Arkansas who's doing some cool things up in that area. Everyone who I've had on has been Little Rock, and so I kind of want to branch out. I'd like to, if you come down to this area again, bring a friend or bring someone who's doing some cool shit. We'll do it again. Everyone who tuned into the live stream, really appreciate it, and be sure to check out the other podcasts on here. Death Metal Dicks with Chris Pierce, who's on the Kyle Kinane show tonight. Put it together. Death Metal Dicks with Chris and Buddy every Tuesday at 10 p.m. The Flagship Podcast will be doing another one here shortly in the next few days. And go like Professional Pirate Media on Facebook, at Pro Pirate Media on Instagram and Twitter. And, thanks again, guys. All the shares, all the likes, everything like that. It really means the world to me and everyone who's involved in here. Thank you again, Raj.
Hey, thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Let's get out of here and do some comedy up there. I'll get at you guys next time.
Awesome. And to everybody on the live stream, thank you guys very much as well. Appreciated the questions. And and the comments and the variety of insults that are received from Bill Adams. Thank you guys. We'll see you in a little